Good evening, Periscope. How are we, everybody? I'm just checking out a bit of Facebook Live. I just did a Facebook Live video a minute ago. Good evening, Alex. Good to see you, mate. Who have we got here? 2B1. Fanny's here. Anna's here. Loads of people are joining. Nina's here. We're just going to give people a few minutes to join. Welcome. Like I said, we're just checking out a bit of Facebook Live. Did a little Facebook Live video a minute ago on Anna's in a car. She says, "Evening, Alex." Yeah, a little Facebook Live video on what we're going to be talking about tonight. It's book club, guys. I've had a long bloody day, but I'm still excited about this. We've been filming with Mr. Chris Stone again today. We've been filming a new episode of Year of Spies. Can't tell you anything about it, otherwise he will kill me. But it's good. It's one definitely to look forward to. For those who haven't got a clue who I am, never seen me before, and like, who's this idiot? I'm alright, really. I'm not an idiot. My name's Ross. I'm an actor and a voiceover artist from Manchester in the UK. Anna's on her way back from an acting class, Act Up North. Hope it went well, Anna. And I scope twice a week. Tonight, on a Wednesday night, we do book club, and I look at basically books that are going to help you in all parts of your life, not just your acting career. They're going to help you be a better person overall, be more motivated, be more productive, get shit done. Have more success, which ultimately is going to affect every part of your life. It's going to make you a better actor as well. So if you're not an actor and you're watching, stay with us, because you're still going to be able to learn a lot from this. I'm kind of obsessed with science, the science behind success. So I don't prescribe necessarily to, just the whole fluffy kind of woo-woo mentality when it comes to psychology. I'm very much kind of science-backed, positive psychology. And the book we're looking at tonight plays into that really, really amazingly well, actually, because it's written by a guy who's studied literally the science of happiness and success at Harvard University for decades. The guy's called Shawn, I still don't know how to pronounce his surname, Achor or Achor. I'm going to have to tweet him and find out how you pronounce that. It's called The Happiness Advantage, and the subtitle is The 7 Principles That Fuel Success and Performance at Work. This is going to be July's book club book. If you want to get it, I reread this book in a day. Fanny, you're fast, because I only got it this morning, and I've only read basically up to, what have I read, the first 30 pages. May, good evening, May's here. So what I'm going to do, because before we get into the 7 principles behind the book, Fanny says she read it and she didn't sleep. Amazing. I'm going to read I'm going to go into the details of kind of like the prologue here, guys, the basis behind this book, and then next week we're going to start looking at one of the 7 principles, and then we'll look at another principle the week after, and another principle the week after that. And if you want to check out the other 4 principles behind this, obviously go buy the book, get it on audio, do what you need to do in order to read it or listen to it, and and absorb it, because seriously, it's mega powerful stuff when you get your head around it. So I want to look at tonight really kind of the fact that I'll give people another minute to join, because I know I've only given them a couple of minutes. It's online, free as a PDF, says Fanny. Amazing. Well, I paid $8.99 for this, so I didn't know that. But yeah, we'll post a link in the Facebook group, Fanny, to the free PDF. Nina says I'm a bit fuzzy tonight. Anyone else finding me a bit fuzzy? It can sometimes happen, Nina, depending on what server you're connecting to. So your signal might be great, but you're connecting to one of many of Periscope's servers. It's like a cloud of servers. Depending on which one you're connected to, you might get a dodgy signal. Even if I've got a strong signal here, Fanny might get a different server and her signal's good. So if you find that it is fuzzy a bit, X out of it, come back in, and you might get a better connection. So you can always try that. Helen OTUK is here. Let us know where you're viewing from, Helen OTUK. And then we're going to begin. So tonight I want to look at something called neuroplasticity, right? Which sounds a little bit mental, but ultimately it's science effectively behind the fact that your brain is malleable. People think that, well, there's 2 schools of thought in life for people who I find. Fanny says all for this is key. Yeah, because people, I don't know, I mean, what are your views? Give me your views on change, in terms of literally changing the structure of your brain, how it operates, how it fires its electrical impulses off, how it's wired. Do you think you are born with a brain and you're just given it and that's it and that's all you're dealt, or do you feel that you can change it? Because a lot of people say things like, oh, but I'm just not wired that way, or I'm not a morning person. I'm going through a bit of a change in my morning routine now. I'm moving my gym sessions from the evening at 5 PM to the morning at 7 AM. and it means I'm getting up at 6:15 every morning, then I'm going and working out, and that would have been something that I never would have dreamt of before, because I've always kind of told myself, you don't kind of like wake up till mid-morning or early lunchtime. I don't mean get out of bed, I mean my body doesn't feel awake until that time. I normally would get up about 8:30, but I'm now getting up at 6:15, and I'm like, well, can I rewire my brain to get my head around that, become a morning person? I've only been doing it for 2 days, I'm going to level with you, but I think I can. Yesterday, the first day felt tough. Today, the second day didn't feel nearly as hard as yesterday, and I'm hoping tomorrow I'm going to shoot off to bed about 11:15 tonight. I'll get over 7 hours sleep. I'm hoping tomorrow's going to be even easier. So someone said there a minute ago about a growth mindset, and that's really it. People think sometimes they've got a fixed mindset and that's it, and they're generally the people who don't do very well in life, because they feel this is how it is. Lena says nature or nurture. She thinks it can be both. I'm very much of the opinion that of a growth mindset, that you can change things. I don't believe necessarily that much in natural ability. I think there's a certain amount of genetics in some kind of things, but I think talent in a way is kind of a bit of a myth, and talent is overrated, because in my experience of life, and the people who I see succeeding the most aren't always the people with the most talent. They're the people who just work bloody hard. They're the people who put in those 18-hour days for the first few years in their career, and there's no substitute for that hard work. But yeah, it's interesting, so let me know what you kind of feel like in terms of, do you feel that you're stuck in your ways? You hear people say, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Is that true? I think you can. I think you can teach. I don't have a dog, but if you've got a dog and it's old, can you teach it something new? Try, and let me know. So this chapter is on page 25 for anyone who's got the paperback and you want to follow with it. And it's simply titled Change is Possible, and this is all I want to look at tonight. I don't want to look at any of the principles yet, because I haven't looked at them myself in depth yet, so I don't feel I can deliver them to you, efficiently. But I want to just kind of get everyone onto the same page, effectively, on the belief, and I'm going to give you some science now, on the fact that change really is possible. So if you are stuck in a rut right now, or things that you are doing, you're like, nothing's working for me, I'm not getting anywhere, things aren't changing, this is just how it is for me, I want you to kind of start challenging that belief about yourself. May says, in my head I know what I need to do, but it's hard to put it into action. Starting, May, is always the hardest thing, but I promise you, when you get going, it becomes easier and easier, like a snowball running down a mountain. It starts off and it's kind of just small and piddling along a little bit, and it's quite difficult to get started, but then when it gets momentum, it starts growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it becomes unstoppable, and nothing can stop it. Change is definitely worth it, but you have to work for it. You do, Anna, absolutely anything in life. Literally, guys, there is no substitute for hard work. People can try and give me these formulas for working smarter, working more efficiently, and they'll work to a certain degree, but ultimately, no substitute for hard work. Literally, that is it. Screw talent, hard work every single time will beat talent. If what did Will Smith say? Hard work will beat talent if talent isn't working hard. Very, very true. So, start off with a behavioural riddle. Good evening, Lee. You've just made it in time. We're talking about change tonight, Lee. And I think, Lee, you're a believer in the fact that you can change, because I've seen you change your life quite a lot over the last year. So a behavioural riddle, okay, it says you're in a cage. Imagine this, guys, right? You're in a cage behind bars. The bars are made of titanium and your cage is empty. All right? You with me? Okay? It's like an acting role. Imagine this. Lee says massively, he agrees that change is possible. So to survive, you must consume 240 tiny pellets of food every hour. The pellets are provided to you, but unfortunately are located in very small holes outside of your cage. Okay, so the process of reaching through the bars and actually grabbing a pellet initially takes you 30 seconds per pellet. If you can't learn to complete the task faster, you will only consume half the amount of nutrition you need and will eventually starve. What do you do? What do you think you do? Okay, so you've got to consume 240 pellets a day, every hour, sorry. Each pellet takes you 30 seconds to get initially though, so you're not ever going to be able to get half, 120 of those pellets. What do you do? Because you're going to starve. The answer, see if Just give me some answers. You know the answer. The answer's simple. Or it might be simple, because I've read the book. It might not be simple if you're just... Alex says try anyway. Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to try. You've got to try. Anybody else? Any more for any more? Think about what we were just talking about change, brain. I'm staying out of this, I've read it twice. So Fanny knows this. Okay, so May says work faster. Excellent, May. So basically, what Shawn says, he goes, obviously you're going to need to expand the part of your brain. Lee says get out of the cage, but it's titanium, Lee. You can't escape, mate. You've got to expand the part of your brain in charge of this task so you can become faster at retrieving pellets. And he says, impossible, right? He says, well, not so fast. Okay, this riddle is in fact based upon a famous study from the field of neuroscience. Only the subjects in the experiment were not humans, but squirrel monkeys. Okay, after 500 tries, the monkeys had become very adept at retrieving the pellets, even as the size of the hole continually decreased. So even though the task became harder, through practice, they began to master it, like a young piano student who learns to master a scale. Intuitively, this makes sense. We've all heard the saying, practice makes perfect. But where it gets really interesting is when researchers looked at what was happening in the monkeys' brains as they got faster and faster at retrieving the pellets. And this is the whole focus of this scope tonight. So using strategically placed electrodes, researchers were able to establish the areas of the brain that showed activity when a monkey was first faced with this conundrum. They then tracked their brain function as the monkeys reached for pellets over and over. And when the researchers looked at the brain scans at the end of the experiment, they found that the amount of cortical area, so the amount of brain mass being activated by the task, had increased several times over. Okay, so in other words, through more practice, each monkey had literally expanded the section of its brain necessary for accomplishing this task. Ruby Wax is banging all this in her books and shows, she says. Good old to change depression. Yeah, Ruby had massive depression, didn't she? It says not over countless generations through the process of evolution, but over the course of one experiment conducted over just a few months. So it wasn't that these monkeys were getting smarter and smarter over evolution and generations. Just a few months, they'd gone from being able to consume only half of what they needed into being able to consume all of what they needed and more by practice, and actually literally lighting up, a much bigger area of their brain. So great, you might say, great for squirrel monkeys, brilliant. But for the most part, we don't hire monkeys in our organisations, at least not on purpose. But recent advances in neuroscience have proven that the process works identically in human beings. Okay, so here's a little short course in neuroplasticity. This is literally how we can go about reshaping our brains. So if you at the start of this scope was like, this is me, this is who I am, I can't change, I'm not this, I'm not that, bullshit, all right, listen to this. I'm wired to be unhappy, people might say. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, people might say. Some people are just born cynical and will never change. Women are not good at math. Oh, that's a sexist one. I didn't write it. I'm just not a funny person. How many times do you hear that? I'm just not a funny person though. He's funny, I'm just not a funny person. I can't do comedy. She's a born athlete, okay? Or so goes the established train of thought in our culture, okay? Our potential is biologically fixed. Once a brain reaches maturity, it's pointless to try to change it. Is it though? Okay, without the ability to make lasting positive change, a book like The Happiness Advantage, which is what we're reading now, would be a cruel joke. Okay, a nice pat on the back for that already happy and successful among us, for the already happy and successful amongst us, but useless for the rest. What good is the discovery that happiness fuels success if we can't actually become happy? Okay, the belief that we are just our genes is one of the most pernicious myths in modern culture. The insidious notion that people come into the world with a fixed set of abilities and that they and their brains cannot change. The scientific community is partly to blame for this. For decades, scientists refused to see what potential for change was staring them in the face. To explain, let me take you back to Africa. So to explain the fact that for decades science has got this wrong, okay, until now when we can actually see it through MRI scans and we can see literally what's going on in people's brains. People didn't think there was room to change. They all thought we had fixed mindsets, fixed brains. That's just how it was. Going to go back to Africa now, to something called the African unicorn. Pretty cool story this, and you'll be like, at the start, how does this tie in? But it does tie in, okay? In ancient Egypt, carvings and writings spoke of a mythical creature. Half zebra, half giraffe. Sounds pretty mental, doesn't it? When 19th century British traders found these carvings, they described this beast as the African unicorn, right? A fantasy creature and biological impossibility. They're like, this is nonsense, this doesn't exist, right? However, natives of the Congo insisted that they had sighted exactly such an animal deep within the forest. Even without the aid of modern genetics, the British explorers knew that was ridiculous. Giraffes simply did not mate with zebras and certainly did not produce offspring. Zebras might think giraffes have great personalities, but they just don't find them attractive. For years, Western biologists scoffed at the ignorance and superstition of the natives for thinking that such a mythical beast was possible. So what do you reckon? Was it possible? I think maybe it might have been possible, but let's read on. In 1901, the intrepid Sir Harry Johnston, who must have been a bit of an explorer, came upon some pygmy natives who had been kidnapped by a German explorer. Appalled by the atrocity, Johnston intervened, offering to pay handsomely for the pygmies' freedom. So he went, "Yo, mate, you're well out of order, you German kidnapper. Here's some cash, let them pygmies go," right? And they did, okay? But now in gratitude, the freed natives gave him pelts and skulls that they claimed were from the African unicorn. Okay, unsurprisingly, when Harry brought them back to Europe, he was ridiculed. You know, there was no way these were the furs of an African unicorn. People scoffed at him because the African unicorn didn't exist, or so they thought. Okay, now when Johnston protested that although he never saw the creature, the pygmies had shown him its tracks, the scientific community dismissed his claims even more and debated for years about his sanity. So they were like, "You're mental, mate. I don't know why you're going along with this." Then, 17 years later, in 1918, a live okapi, or how you say okapi, okapi or okapi, don't know how you pronounce that, indeed, a cross between the giraffe and the zebra was captured in the wild and showcased in Europe. A decade later, the first okapi, or okapi, was successfully mated in Antwerp, in Germany, right? Today, the mythical okapis, or okapis, which apparently weren't so mythical after all, are now quite common in zoos across the world. Okay, so that's just one example of how people thought what was fixed wasn't fixed. Okay, in the 1970s, the Dalai Lama claimed that mere thought could change our brain structure. Even without the aid of modern brain scans and MRIs, Western scientists knew this was ridiculous, just like they thought with the bloody unicorn, right? While it might be comforting to believe our brains can change, they said, it was only a myth. And certainly if the brain could change, it couldn't do so through mere thought or force of will alone. For most of the 20th century, it was a commonly held notion in the most esteemed research circles that after adolescence, our brains were fixed and unyielding. Neuroplasticity, that's the idea that the brain is malleable and can therefore change throughout our lives, was essentially the Western unicorn. Alex has looked up the pronunciation. Cheers, Alex. It's okapi. Yeah, he spelled it phonetically on the screen. So the zebra unicorn thing was an okapi. Okay. So people scoffed at the thought that our brains were malleable for years. Okay. Now a few years later, some researchers began discovering tracks of what they claimed was this mythical chimera. Okay, neuroplasticity is what they're talking about. This time, scientists found clues not in the skull of an okapi, but inside the skull of a cabbie. Okay, a taxi driver. Now listen to this, all right? Researchers were studying the brains of taxi cab drivers. Have we got any taxi cab drivers on here? Has anyone been a taxi driver? Let me know. They found something previously unimaginable. Okay, the cab drivers' brains. Oh, I've missed a bit here. Wait a second. Research was studying the brains of taxi cab drivers, okay, who lived in London. Small wonder scientists get mocked at dinner parties for their own research subject, it says here. They found something previously unimaginable. The cab drivers' brains had a significantly larger hippocampi, that's plurius of hippocampus, big part of your brain. The structure devoted to spatial memory that the average person has. So your hippocampus is the thing for spatial memory in your brain. So why did taxi drivers have massive hippocampi? Okay, why would this happen? To learn the answer, Shawn went to the source, a living London cabbie. He explained to me that the streets in London are not based on grid systems like they are in America. Good evening, Sam, just joined the scope. But they are they're a Byzantine maze, squiggly maze, effectively, I think that means, that requires the driver has a vast internal spatial map. Okay, it's so difficult actually. Drivers are forced to take a navigational test called the knowledge before being licensed to drive one of the city's famous black cabs. So if you want to be a taxi driver in London, you've got to know your shit. Although these days I guess they've got sat navs, but you've got to take the knowledge, which is, you know, a huge test on tell me where King's Road is, how would you get to Euston Station from here, how do you get to St Pancras, all this kind of stuff. They've got to know it up here. And Shawn goes, who cares? Right, while a big O hippocampus may not seem exciting to you, it forced scientists to confront the myth of neuroplasticity, that the brain change is possible depending on how you live your life. Faced with this data, a scientist who held rigid to a fixed state brain model, which said that your brain does not change after adolescence, would be left with an awkward choice. Now this is the choice he would be left with after they found that cabbies have massive hippocampi compared to average people. Either he would have to argue that A, from birth, some people's genes develop a large hippocampus because they know that they will one day grow up to be a taxi driver in London, or concede that B, the hippocampus can increase in size as a result of many hours of practice driving a taxi cab in maze-like surroundings. Okay? As brain scans become more sophisticated and accurate, more tracks of the mythical Western unicorn kept appearing. Imagine someone we'll call Roger, another great example. Roger, who could see normally growing up. Okay, great vision growing up, but then suddenly lost his vision after toxic chemicals were splashed in his eyes during a high school chemistry experiment. After the accident, Roger was forced to learn how to read Braille, which required him to use his primary index finger to feel every word he read. Okay, when neuroscientists put someone like Roger in an MRI machine to scan his brain, sounds like Daredevil, says Lee, but when they put him in a MRI scan to scan his brain, they made some startling discoveries. Okay, when they poked at the index finger on Roger's non-reading hand, nothing out of the ordinary happened. A small part of his brain would simply light up, just like it would if someone tapped on any of our fingers, okay? But then came the extraordinary part. When researchers tapped on Roger's Braille reading finger, a relatively enormous area of cortical mass would light up, like a halogen lamp clicking on in his brain. So to explain this, scientists again were left with two options. A, from birth, our genes are smart enough to anticipate a freak chemistry lab experiment and thus arrange for a well hardwired index finger on just one hand, right? Or B, that our brains change in response to our actions and our circumstances. Okay, the answer in both cases above is obvious and inescapable. Brain change, once thought impossible, is now a well-known fact, one that is supported by some of the most rigorous and cutting-edge research in neuroscience, and the implications are far-reaching. Once our brains were discovered to have such built-in plasticity, our potential for intellectual and personal growth suddenly became equally malleable. As you're about to read, and we will over the next few weeks, over the next 7 sections, studies have found numerous ways we can review our brains to be more positive. We can rewire. Studies have found numerous ways we can rewire our brains to be more positive, creative, resilient, and productive, to see more possibility wherever we look. And we bang on about that so much. If you focus on what you want, you're going to see more opportunity to get it. You focus on what you don't want, all the shit that's going on in your life, you're going to see no opportunity, you're just going to see sadness, alright? Indeed, if our thoughts daily activities and behaviours can change our brains, the great question becomes not if, but how much change is possible. Fanny said this has been known in the Eastern world for a long time, but in the Western world, yeah, we're just kind of catching up. Because we definitely need science, don't we? You know, that's I think as Westerners, I feel that, like, yeah, you know, I just need a bit of proof. But I just want to read one last bit, guys, 1.5 pages more, and this ties in an example of something that I've mentioned a lot. Anyone who's in on the Bulletproof Actor program that I launched earlier this year, and I'm going to launch again at the end of this month. It's a super in-depth mindset, a confidence installation program, I call it. Basically, it's literally science-backed positive psychology, a huge process you go through to get rid of all the limiting beliefs in your life, all the bullshit that's holding you back, and to basically rewrite your life story so that you can live a limitless life, not a limited life that you might be living right now. And it gives a great example that I use quite a lot. So let's just read this. So he says, from possible to probable. Okay, what is the longest sequence of numbers a person can remember? How tall can a human being grow? How much money can one make? How long can a person live? The Guinness Book of World Records lists many of the greatest records set, the greatest potentials ever achieved. But the Guinness Book of World Records is a fossil record. It speaks only to what has been done, not how much can be done. That is why it has to be constantly updated. Records are forever being broken, so it's forever out of date. Shut up, Lee. Lee's ribbing me for always saying similar things, but it's because it's true, isn't it? Things become cliched because they're just true, man. So take the fascinating case, and you might know this because I've mentioned this before, of the British middle distance runner Roger Bannister. In the 1950s, after rigorous testing and mathematical computations of the physics of our anatomy as human beings, experts concluded that the human body could not run a mile in under 4 minutes, a physical impossibility, the scientists said. Then along came Roger Bannister, who in 1954 seemed to have no qualms proving that it could in fact be run in 3 minutes and 59 seconds, 59.4 seconds, so 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. And once Bannister broke the imaginary barrier, because that's all it was imaginary bullshit, suddenly the floodgates opened. Scores of runners started besting the 4-minute mark every year, each one faster than the next. How fast does a human have the potential to run the mile or swim the 100 meters or complete the marathon today? Well, we honestly don't know. That's why we hold our breath during every Olympic competition, to see if a new world record has been established. The point is, we don't know the limits of human potential, just as we can't know the limit for how fast a human can run or predict which student will grow up to win a Nobel Prize. We still don't know the limits of our brain's enormous potential to grow and adapt for changing circumstances. All we know is that this kind of change is possible. The rest of this book is about how we can capitalize on our brain's capacity to change so that we can reap the benefits of the happiness advantage. And that's exactly what we're going to be looking at over the next 3 weeks, guys. I'm going to choose 3 principles out of the 7 that are available, and these are all scientifically backed by over a decade's worth of Harvard research, Harvard University research, lots and lots and lots of studies of how you can tap in to the malleable nature of your brain, rewire it for success, ultimately rewire it first and foremost for happiness, which cannot possibly lead to anything else but success. Like I say, you're going to be more motivated to get up in the morning and do your work. You're going to be more productive. Your output's going to be bigger. Thus, by default, you're going to have better results. It's going to feed back into your belief, what you believe about yourself. You're going to say, see, I told you I could do it. You're going to believe more in your potential, which means you take more action. You get even better results. Feeds back into your belief. And literally, you go up in the world. This is why rich people get richer, successful people get more successful. It's also, unfortunately, why poor people get poorer, why unsuccessful people become more and more unsuccessful when the reverse happens for them. And they don't tap into this and they say, I'm fixed, my brain is how it is, I'm just not a happy person, I'm just a cynical person, I'm just boring, I'm just not this, I have resting bitch face. You know, I hear that a lot these days. Go, yeah, on that photograph, I just look really sad and pissed off. It's because I've got resting bitch face. Is it, or is it because your brain's wired for resting bitch face? You know, let's rewire your brain so your default state is smiling. All right, I think that's probably a better way to go than just concede that you have this. So that's what we're going to tap into. Does it sound good to you? Let me know your thoughts on what we've just read. Ultimately, all I want you to take away tonight, Chris Stone Films has just joined. I've been filming with Chris today. I don't know if you've seen any of the scope so far, Chris, or you've just joined. Watch the replay though, mate, if you have. I just want people to take away the fact that nothing is fixed. I said to Chris today, as I was getting out of the car, I was like, you know what? So I'll tell you a little anecdote. Someone sent me, you know, I won't say who or what this was, right? But somebody writes articles for me on the website on actonthis.tv. Crazy. I got an email from somebody today, absolutely slagging this person off, and they write nothing but great articles for me. I can't fault their work. Slating this person, going, I can't believe you have such and such a body writing for you. You're such a reputable company. I don't know if you know this person's past, but they have been involved with this, and this. And I say to Chris, I was like, you know, A, it sounds like someone's just scorned, who's just bitter and jealous or something, and it's just like out to take somebody down. I don't play into that. I think that's bang out of order. But I was like, look, man, I don't care what you've done in your past. If what you're doing today is great work, and you believe that, you know, your past does not equal your future, because it doesn't, it really, really doesn't. It's one of the biggest limiting beliefs that we have as human beings, is that our past equal our future, and that's utter bullshit. I'm like, this person obviously bought into the fact that they could change. And if this is what they used to do, it's not what I'm seeing them doing right now. All I'm seeing them is outputting great work, being motivated, going out there and putting good stuff, positive impact into the world. And yeah, so yeah, Anna says old beliefs and new beliefs. So yeah, you can change your belief system. You absolutely can change your belief system. And I want you to take away from tonight the science in this book that says, you know, that disproves anything you might be thinking. Because anything that you're thinking, probably, because we're just human beings, regular human beings who don't work in science and neuroscience and, you know, don't work at Harvard University, you know, we can say, oh yeah, this is just the way that I am. But I can tell you, and you can read it for yourself, all the studies that are in this book, that it's nonsense, that, you know, science can prove that. And sometimes you can't argue with science because it's factual and there's a load of evidence backing that up. And if you tap into this, trust me, you will, for anyone out there who just feels average, like they're just like, oh, I'm just pretty average at this, or I feel like I'm living an average life, this is the key to stepping it up. You know, no one wants to live an average life. Who wants to live, you know, who wants to be average? Whoever remembers anyone who's been average, you know? We want to be extraordinary, yeah? We want a bit of greatness in our lives and put some greatness out in the world, and this is how you can do that, you know, with science. So I'm going to read the next couple of chapters in this for the first couple of principles, and then I will choose one to talk about on next Monday's scope. But it's exciting. As you said, Ross, massive belief plus massive action equals massive success. Yeah, Alex, man, it starts with the belief in your potential. So everyone I ever coach, the first thing that is lacking, if anyone's ever not seeing results, is belief in their own potential. Literally, that's the first thing. That's where it starts. If you don't believe you can achieve what you set out to achieve, you're never going to do it, because by default you've defeated yourself from the off. You won't take enough action to see good results, and when you get bad results, you go, see, I told you I couldn't do it. And then this feeds back into your belief system about yourself, and you go, see, I told you I couldn't do it, I've got even less potential for next time. So then you take even less action and you get even worse results, and then you probably sack it off and you just give in, or whatever you do, or you just tell yourself this is how it is, and you hang out with another 5 actors who tell you that this is how it is because they're experiencing that shit as well. And then all you do is you make yourself feel better by going, yeah, there's shit in it, as opposed to you know, finding 5 actors who are doing it, you know, or whatever you are doing in your life, 5 business people, whatever it is, and you're like, right, I'm going to hang out with these guys, and then I'm going to be inspired, and these are going to lift me up, and then I'm going to go and take action because I've seen it. Trust me, if somebody like you, if you've seen anybody like you, remotely like you, be successful, you can have it too. If you see anyone in the acting industry who looks a bit like you, who talks a bit like you, who sounds a bit like you, who acts a bit like you, who walks a bit like you, and they're successful, you can have that as well. So yeah, just believe in it. If you believe in it, you will start taking that action. Ross is teaching me to kick ass, says Anna. Excellent, Anna, good work. Go and kick ass. But yeah, so I love this book, guys. Ultimately, it was, for those who know Tony Robbins, one of the best personal change gurus on the planet. It's his son who recommended this to me. And he knows his shit as well, so that proves it to me that it's a decent read. If you want to get it and you're watching on the replay, click on the link below if you're watching on the replay, and you will be able to go and buy it from Amazon.co.uk. If you're in America, if Tony Rossi is watching this replay, one of our regular American viewers, go get it from Amazon.com. Tony, I sent you a $20 gift card. Go and buy it. That was because Tony was the first person to put his Act on This intro in the Facebook group. I said there'll be a prize, and I sent him a $20 gift card for Amazon. So these are little spot things that we will do. So get involved with the Facebook group as much as you can, and I might just happen, if you're a member on Act on This, actonthis.tv, if you're a member, I'll have your email address. I might just surprise you one day with a gift card out of the blue for being cool. So yeah, thank you for watching tonight. I hope that's been valuable to you. Please come and get involved more in the Facebook group. I'm loving how much chat is going on in there. You guys on here tonight are brilliant. I see every name that's popped up here tonight. I'm seeing you all, being really productive in the Facebook group, and you're all chatting, and that's awesome. So keep that up. If you've not done an Act on This intro, hashtag Act on This intro, get in the Facebook group and just click video. And you can do it live. You can do it. I just did a Facebook Live thing on my phone. We can all tune in live, or once you've done it live, it's saved as a recording. So you can you can have it up there forever then. But come and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, why you got involved with the group, where you're at in your acting career. There's no stupid questions, bar the ones you don't ask. So if you want to ask any questions, ask them. People are so supportive. I'm so proud of the fact that everyone in the group is so supportive of one another, because that was what I intended to create when I created that Facebook group, because there's so many bitchy, whiny, moaning Facebook groups for actors out there, and we just don't have it. All I wake up to in the morning is posts and posts in our Facebook group of positive things, of people focusing on their goals, achieving things, celebrating other people's successes, random acts of kindness, and it's brilliant. And some people might go, oh, what's that got to do with acting? Trust me, it's got everything to do with acting. Can't believe how much a part of a group I feel, says Fanny. Well, it's because it's it's everybody's group, Fanny. It's not the Ross show. I know I do these, but I'm just kind of like, bringing people together, I guess. And what I love seeing is people replying to other people's things. It used to be when I had forums on Act on This, it was pretty much a question and answer with me, and I didn't mind doing that. But I just wish other people would poke their head up and have the confidence to give advice as well, because I don't know everything at all. God, if I did, I'd have 10 times the credits I've got on my IMDb than I've got right now. But I'm not professing to be the all and everything. I'm like, I'm not the guru. I'm just on my own journey, and I'm like, come with me, and I'll share with you what's working with me, and I'll take from you guys what's working for you, and I'll share with the things that aren't working for me. And that's it. I don't know everything. I don't, but I learn so much from seeing you guys in the Facebook group every day. So that's really, really cool. So keep it up, which is good. And look out soon. Chris says you'll have another IMDb credit soon. I will, because and Sam is saying Ross Grant is still a black of networking. Amazing, because me, Sam, and Chris were filming yet a new episode of Chris's web series Year of Spies today. I won't give any of it away. All I can say is the location's amazing, the shots today looked amazing, and my character is back, and I'll say no more. Back for how long? Who knows? But hopefully for a while. What's the name of the something or other? What's the name of the book, Lee? Yeah, if you didn't see the name of the book, the name of the book is called The Happiness Advantage by Shawn, and I don't know how you say this, Achor or Achor. Can you see there? I don't know. I'm going to tweet him and ask him how you say his name. Oh no, yeah, I could ask Google and do it phonetically, but whether it's right or not, I don't know. Can you say Roger Alan Partridge style? Yeah, of course I can, Anna. Roger! Roger! Oh, forget it. Bit of Partridge. Chris does a good Partridge impression as well. Roger Moore. Ooh, James Bond. Stop getting Bond wrong. Yeah, I'm going to go now. Yeah, I'm going to bed. I'm getting up early in the morning now. As I say, I'm trying to rewire my brain for early morning gym sessions so that I don't have to do it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Sam says don't encourage Ross, and Anna's now crying. Hopefully you're not actually crying, Anna. Ollie's crying with laughter, not crying with sadness. Fingers crossed. Oh no, she says with laughter, so that's alright. Right guys, so I'll be back. I'm so sorry as well, I've not been putting out the Fight to Thrive podcast the last 2 Fridays because I've been filming stuff and I've been doing loads of technical stuff on the website. I'm going to be doing the new Fight to Thrive episode for this Friday for sure. There's already about 12 episodes on iTunes if you search for Act on This TV, all one word, Act on This TV. But I will have a new episode out on Friday. I've just been so busy I've not had a chance to do that over the last couple of weeks. So thank you. I'm going to get to bed, get up early, and I'll catch you guys in the Facebook group tomorrow. Post all your great stuff in there because you just keep posting all your great stuff. Chris has said bye for now, my catchphrase. That came up, I think it's not a catchphrase really, is it? But it's just something that I just can't help but say in my life. Get rating, people. Oh yeah, please, yeah. Fight to Thrive, the podcast, Act on This TV podcast. Please rate it on iTunes. It's got about 9 reviews, 9 5-star reviews. I'd love it if you left a 5-star review. Even if you think it's shit, just leave a 5-star review. Just go, yeah, it's great. But it is great. That's me literally. It's almost like therapy for me, Fight to Thrive. It's just a stream of consciousness of me talking about what's happened that week and what I've learned from it. But I think it's pretty cool. I'd listen to it if I wasn't doing it. I do listen to it, bizarrely. I actually do listen to it even though it's me. Love the sound of my own voice. Right, I'm going now before I dig a deeper hole. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you all. Thanks so much if you've stayed on this long on the replay. Very much appreciate you as well. Tweet me, let me know your thoughts at Ross A. Grant. Come and join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Act on This TV. And I'll see you Monday for motivation and mind hacks on the next Periscope. Chris Stone Films was tempted to shout it out the car earlier. Sam and Chris are having a conversation on their own. We'll leave them to it. Right, guys. Thanks ever so much. I'll say it if I can bring this down. Oh, come on. Oh. Periscope just worked for me. Yes, there you go. Bye for now.